This week on the Finance Leader podcast, I am discussing the importance of training and empowering your team. You need a well-trained team to help you with the workload. Trust them and empower them to get tasks done to your standard if you want to succeed, because you can't get it all done alone. Plus, you have the responsibility as leader to create a culture and environment where your team leaders can thrive and grow without harassment and discrimination. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Finance Leader podcast, where leadership is bigger than the numbers. I am your host, Stephen McLean, and this is the podcast for developing leaders in finance and accounting. Now, I understand your challenges and struggles. I have been there. You are doing your best with the accounting and finance systems and models that you are using, but they tend to be outdated, and you are also up against the pressure of tight deadlines. And I also understand you're trying to balance accounts or calculate projections with old models and even wrong assumptions. And does your team spend an unbelievable amount of time cutting and pasting instead of actual accounting or finance work? And this is why we're going to talk about the topic that I have chosen for today. And this is episode number 22, and today I will discuss 1. As the leader, you have great responsibilities to care for your team, to create a culture that you want and a culture that your team can thrive in. Number 2, for you to become successful, you need a well-trained team to help you get the work done. I'm going to talk about setting the culture for developing a winning team, and that begins with you. Also, I'm encouraging you to take more risk and better understand the risk-reward relationship. And finally, to empower your team. Helen Keller said, "Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much." To be successful, you need a well-trained team behind you. Now, John Maxwell talks about this concept in one of his books. And he says, for successful organizations to be successful, they need a deep bench of talent. And he also compares this to sports teams. And it also means that people will be leaving and coming into the team and organizations as you change the culture and as you push to a higher level. Now, regarding sports teams, the championship teams tend to have a deep bench of talent. They just don't rely on the starters. They have a bench of well-qualified players that can interchange with the starters, that can take on additional roles, and that they also have embraced a culture of not being selfish and understanding each role that they have been assigned. Now, there you've got some starters and you've got some bench players, but there's no arrogant relationship between the two roles. The starters know their role, and the bench players know that they got to come in for the starters when it's time, and they will interchange as necessary as the conditions have changed or as the task before them has changed. Whatever the conditions that have come upon the team, the players understand what their role is, and they don't have a problem filling the role that they've been asked to do. Now, teams are always shifting talent, and also roles continue to change as you go to a higher level. You've got to understand that as the leader, that you can't get the work done alone. And you're going to need a well-qualified bench behind you getting all the work done that's coming your way. Now, I understand that working in the finance and accounting profession, you've got things coming at you all the time. You've got tasks coming at you. You've got your regular routine and list of tasks that you need to do every month. And you've got monthly close to deal with, which is also a mountain in itself, just because of all of the challenges that you may be facing and all the challenges with the systems that you're using, and also a broken process that you probably have. Now, so I understand these challenges that you have, and I also understand that the pressure that you're under to deliver the results that your executive team and that your senior leaders are expecting from you. The work is complex, and it's often overwhelming. And I'm encouraging you to understand that you need a team behind you that is well-trained and empowered. A team that you have trained and that you have set a high bar of excellence. And no matter how qualified or skilled or energetic you are, you definitely need others to succeed. You need your well-qualified team, your trained team, and your team ready to take on the priorities and the tasks that you have assigned them to get the things done that need to be done, and the reports that need to be done, and the processes that need to be completed in order to have the final product and final outputs that are expected of you, and to that high level of excellence that is expected. Now, in my career, I realized that I could not get it all done alone. And I also want to encourage you and challenge you. And is your team ready to follow you into a higher level of excellence and into a culture of winning? Anytime we talk about wanting to raise our team to a higher level of excellence and to a higher level of output or to just a higher level of expectations, I need to ask you a few questions. Is your team culture a place where your team members can thrive and that is also void of abuse and harassment? As leaders, we need to create a working space so our team can perform their duties in a safe way. Trust is formed when your team members know you will care for them, that you will protect them, and you will follow through on what you say, and that you are treating everyone with respect and dignity. This also means that you are ensuring your team members are able to deal with a culture that does not have harassment or discrimination within it. Even the most subtle instances of harassment or discrimination are unacceptable, and you need to be continually aware and watchful and observant of anything that goes on within your team and towards your team and around your team to ensure you are protecting them and you are giving them a best chance of success and the best chance of completing their duties to that high level that you want them to do. And this also includes you and the things that you say and the things that you do, and also ensuring that what you say is the things that you're going to do. Follow through and ensuring that if you say you're going to take care of your team, you're actually doing it. Now, often there's some pressure in some organizations that don't take this seriously. Some senior leaders want to have an organization that is free of incidents or free of problems, free of discrimination, free of harassment. Now, that sounds great from the outside and from a top-level view. However, I want to challenge you to think about harassment and discrimination in a different way. I would like to see leaders who are working tirelessly, who are working continuously to ensure that their organization doesn't have discrimination or harassment. And that means you've got to take an active role. Now, some of these organizations that I had mentioned previously sometimes put the pressure on to have no incidents, which means the pressure is so great to have zero incidents that sometimes incidents are swept under the rug and they're never given the light of day in order to be corrected and also for the opportunity that it never happens again. The pressure is so great to have zero that in fact leaders are making sure that nothing gets reported and nothing gets corrected. So I believe that there is a wrong approach to the metric that senior leadership is using. I believe that leaders at all levels should be encouraged and rewarded for correcting, training, and ensuring that these occurrences do not happen on their teams and don't happen in the organization, which means you need to take a very active approach to ensuring that things don't happen. Just because you have zero reports doesn't mean it's not happening. I would actually be very suspect of any organization that says they have no incidents of harassment or discrimination, because I believe it's probably happening in every organization. So that's why I want to state that we need to take a different approach. We need to be challenging leaders at all levels to be looking for it, to observing, to do the right training, to talk with their team members about how we treat each other and how we approach these things, and how so we don't even have the most subtle effects or the most subtle discussions or subtle occurrences of discrimination or harassment. You continually train, you continually talk with your team, and you take that very active approach. And also, as leaders, we need to be very approachable for when an occurrence does happen, so that we can make sure that we are communicating to our team that we are going to take action and that we are going to take very direct action in ensuring that our teams and our organizations are free from these type of occurrences. Again, I want to encourage all leaders, and especially senior leaders and executive teams, to relook how they approach the undertaking of rooting out problems and also the reporting and the action taking for leaders within our organization. I think you need to encourage and reward leaders who are taking very direct action so that we are continually creating an environment free of abuse and free of discrimination. Whenever we have a discussion around trying to create a team of excellence and trying to push our team to a higher level, we'll have to talk about micromanagement. Micromanagement is mostly about control to try to create a look from the outside that is probably a lie. And I'm very brutal against those who try to micromanage their teams and micromanage their companies, because what it is that the micromanager is probably going to be approaching it from a couple of different ways. One, they want to control the output so that they look a certain way so they can go ahead and move on and advance in their career. And what they're doing is showing to their bosses that their team is wonderful and their metrics are great, but in fact what has happened is that leader of that team has controlled every output, every step, every movement, every action taken by their team to try to control what the output is. And they've made their teams miserable in the meantime. And then the other piece of it is that some people are just control freaks and they don't trust anybody, and they want to ensure that whatever that the team is working on or the team is producing, that they have say in every step, everything that you do, no matter what. And these people are usually narcissistic, they're controlling, and they just don't trust anybody, and they believe that only through their own effort will they able to advance and will they able to meet the requirements that have been given to them. But we are going to empower our people. We can do more, and also we can go to a higher level of excellence in the long run if we learn to train and trust and empower our team. Micromanagers do want to control the output because they are only thinking about themselves. Unfortunately, if you work for a micromanager, you may turn into one also, and we don't want to do that. If you do work for a micromanager, I encourage you to continually fight the urge to micromanage yourself. Continue to do these steps that I'm about to talk about, even if you are working for a very horrible micromanager. You can set expectations and you can talk with your boss about what you're doing, and you can have a very high level of output without doing the same things that are being done to you. So 3 issues I want to discuss right now about building out a team that can help you succeed, and a team that's well trained and ready to take on tough tasks. Number 1 is you set the team culture through your expectations. Now, what team culture do you want? Do you want one that does go to a higher level, that takes on the high demands of our accounting and finance profession, that takes on tasks willingly and gets the most done and goes to that high level and puts in the extra effort? Now that takes work. Oftentimes you have a culture that's just overwhelmed and then tries to get done what they do. The culture of the team depends upon the approach of its leader. The desire to achieve excellence starts with you. You need to have credibility. You need to know the company well. You need to know what the work is. You need to set the right priorities. And you need to get your own work done to a high level and on time. You need to continually set the example of doing the right thing at the right time. You need to also continue to respect others and to defend your team. If you do this properly, they will fight for you and for the team's goals, and they will do it to a high level. You need to continually protect your team from abuse. You need to give them an environment where they can thrive and give everything they have without fear of harassment or discrimination. We need to make sure we are continually looking at bias that includes our own bias and a bias that may be in the organization. Everyone deserves an opportunity to advance for better opportunities regardless of who they are. It should all depend on how much and how hard they work and what value they bring to the organization and positive attitude that they have and the contributions that they make. Reward those who work hard and add value and contribute above and beyond. Number 2, as leaders, we need to be taking a calculated risk in everything that we do. We need to understand that risk-reward relationship and understand that to get a high-performing team without you burning out, and you need to take more risk in order to do that. Don't be afraid as you develop your team and you find ways to develop, but that it requires more patience and the ability to shake things off when they don't go perfect. The long-term reward is great as your team develops. I encourage you to invest in your team and don't worry that if some of your good performers will leave. Because what happens when you don't invest in your team? It's ridiculous thinking that some people say, Well, why would I spend money or invest time or invest all these resources into growing team members that may leave me? Well, what happens when you don't invest in them and you don't develop them? You then create a team of complacent people, and you create a team that doesn't know or understand the expectations or can't perform to a higher level. So let's continually take that risk, invest in your team, and guess what? They probably will leave eventually. And that's what happens when you try to push to that next level. You're going to continually having a revolving door of talent coming into your team, but you continually communicate high expectations and what you want to achieve and the culture that you want on your team. Number 3, and this is a big one, you need to focus on empowerment. And empowerment means that you have given a task and you've given a responsibility and authority to get that task done to the expectations that you have communicated, and you are not going to check every step. You're going to coach, train, mentor your team members to the expectation that you want, and you're going to hold them accountable. And I would encourage you to give your most trustworthy and capable team members key tasks and let them get it done from beginning to end, and then offer guidance as they need it, and then let them go get it done. Let them get it done without you having to watch over their shoulders every moment and every step of the task that they're trying to accomplish. Train and set the bar high for your team and trust them to get it done, and continually avoid micromanagement pitfalls. You don't need to check every step. Focus on empowerment. Give some of those key tasks over to your most trustworthy people, to your go-getters, so they can get it done. This frees up more time for you to focus on development and training of your team, and also focuses you on other priorities and possibly higher level priorities, including your boss's priorities. I want to share a little story from my own career. Now, during my Army service, no matter how important I thought I was to anything we were doing, the hard work of my team, which was often not easily seen by senior leaders, contributed to my success daily. Leaders can get a big ego thinking that they are the lone solution to the organization's problem. The term empowerment was not always welcomed by more senior military officers because it sounds like you are giving up control. But what you are getting is the ability to go to a high level of excellence in the long run. And I often used the word empowerment when I was talking about the goals that I wanted for my team and whatever unit that I was commanding or leading. And it scared some. It scared some senior officers because, again, it seems like you're giving up some control, or maybe the standards won't be as high. But if you focus on expectations and then hold people accountable, empowerment is a great thing. It frees up your time to do higher level priorities. You have to realize that you can't get the work done alone, and I believe that. Train and believe in your team. Empower them to act, and don't fear what the outcome might be, but train them to the outcome you want in the long run. Then coach and teach. Hold them accountable in a very positive way. Now, for an easy win today, I recommend that you assess your own team's culture and start asking yourself some questions. And I want you to observe behavior and the words that people use. And if the culture is not one of empowerment and trust, then make a plan to set the culture that you want so you can go to that next level. And it starts with you. It starts with your example and your direction and your attitude, your commitment to respecting your people. You must change first before your team will change, and it will take time, and trust must be built, and work on more open communication. This episode is sponsored by my new online course offering through Finance Leader Academy. It's called Advance Your Finance and Accounting Career, Developing a Promotion Strategy That Will Set You Apart. Are you having difficulty getting recognition from your leadership despite all the hard work you pour into your job and your organization? This course helps you analyze what you bring to the organization, how you can set yourself apart from your peers through high visibility work and developing your leadership skills, plus how you can devise a strategy to move ahead. You can go to StephenMcLean.com for more details. Today I discussed that you need a well-trained team for you to be successful. Next week, I'll be discussing creating winning habits on your team so you can bring out the best ideas. In finance and accounting, we need good ideas because we are often dealing with out-of-date systems and processes. We need to be open to change and to follow through to make our work environments better. I hope you enjoyed the Finance Leader Podcast. I am dedicated to helping you grow your leadership. I hope you enjoyed the show today. You can get this episode wherever you find podcasts. Please join our community on Facebook, the Finance Leader Podcast Facebook group. This will be our community to grow within the finance and accounting profession. Until next time, you can check out out more resources at stephenmclean.com and sign up for my updates so you don't miss an episode of the show. And now, go lead your team, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.